How's everybody doing? I am so sorry. No, I'm not sorry, but again, getting to the school opens on the 27th. I'm going over emails that I have over the past 3.5 years, over 90,000 emails. 90,000 emails. So I definitely was speaking to one of my business partners, and we have to do staffing, because it's too much email for one person, and still trying to hire other astrologers, and that's why I had to create the school so that I can raise astrologers. It can be one person for the whole planet. I supposedly they want services and readings. And talking about that, many of you have submitted monies for tarot card reading and for birth charts. Amanda, thank you for your purchase and services. Please call me because I don't have a phone number, and what's her name? CashApp doesn't have your number, and I don't know your chat name, Amanda, so that I can reach you, so that you can begin to reap on the benefits of the birth chart and the tarot card reading. Right? Thank you, Jesse. Jesse, waiting for you still. Mr. Gibson from Florida, Uma from Florida, and the couple from Detroit, my friend Mixie. So we're out of retrograde, thank God. So letting you know I did not forget you. So everything is gonna make Celine as well, who wanted her progressions and transits chart. So all that now can flow. Thank God. This was a tough retrograde. Alright? So just to give you a little news on that. Mercury in the second house of Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign, and the definition of Mercury in Taurus is a whole different meaning from Mercury in the second house. So if I don't mention a lot of characteristics of the sign of Taurus, it's because here is not the place to explain it. Taurus has its own psychology, and the second house of Taurus has a 100% different psychology of interpreting the house. Right? So the first thing that I want to say is that there are two types of Mercury in both Taurus and the second house, because some of the information can parallel or overlap, right? But it's not the rule; it's the exception. With Taurus, the natural energy field created by Taurus is what astrologers call the astrological houses. The second house, unlike the first house of Aries, is deeply psychological, deeply complex. Even in the olden days, many astrologers didn't have much to say about the second house and Mercury here. Again, not many have written about these positions of Mercury. So when we are looking at the second house, the first thing that we know as astrologers is that it's the house of self-worth and self-esteem. That these have to do with self-love. It has to do with the solar plexus, And isn't it interesting? I always say, if you connect to your inner child, you will always be abundant. And I'm talking about financially and material blessings, material wealth. And isn't it interesting that the second house exactly rules those same things? So it's the second house of money. But look what it says first. It is the house of self-esteem and self-worth, then it becomes the house of money. I'm talking about having thousands of dollars in your pocket, and hundreds of thousands in the bank, having a $60,000 Porsche, having expensive pool table. I'm sitting in a Taurian house with lots of plants and just fine living. You know what they say about Taurus? You know what they say about Taurus? Taurus are known for three things: good food, good company, and good sex. The opposite polarity of Taurus is Scorpio. There's a lot of sensuality in the second house. It should not be because it's an obstacle. When we talk about the houses, we're talking in abstract. But it's quite interesting that you might not have any Taurus or any Earth. But if you get a planet in the second house, it will vibrate like the actual Taurian, which the hallmark for Taurus is human sensuality. That's why it is considered the Earth goddess of the zodiac, along with Libra, which Venus also cardinally rules. So we see those same target indicators also in Libra and also in the seventh house, but not as strong as you do with Mercury in the second house of Taurus. My cappuccino, I spiked it a little bit. You know, I love it. The fireball, the coffee fireball, you put it with this, you drink it down though first. And then, you know, put it in. Once it looks, keeps you warm. It's so tasty and fruit-like. Well, here's the other thing. So, self-love, self-worth, and self-esteem. Now, self-esteem, by definition, it's different than self-worth. Self-worth is different from self-esteem. Self-esteem, if it's never ever been defined to you, means that you have a general overall likeness to yourself. It's kind of like the basis margin, you know? Some are below this basis margin and hate themselves and don't love themselves. And this can create a multiplicity of outcomes later on as an adult. Even though it is the house of material possessions, it's quite interesting that it focuses on the car, the coat, the home, the summer homes, the beach house. All that is the second house. It's tangible wealth. And money is not going to be an issue for you in this life with a strong second house. I'm going to get to the interpretation of Mercury, but I have to explain this because that's what makes this house so complex to understand. Self-worth is another situation. Self-worth is the value, and you've heard me talk about this, about Taurus and the second house in other videos. The second house rules value. How do you value yourself through money? You all know that, people have been trying to kill me and they've hired hitmen. One is in jail, one is on the run, all that is statutory evidence. Do you know how much my twin brother, who was organizing the murder, paid the hitman? $50,000 when he does it, and then another $50,000 to bring proof. And my ex, the Taurian, took out a $2.5 million health insurance policy. That's why I was being poisoned by family and friends, exes, frenemies, and lovers. Because they had an insurance on my health. So if I get sick, there's a payout. They did the death certificate and falsified documents because if I get my inheritance, which I clearly did, but it was stolen, taken, because they said that I died and they produced a fake death certificate. What's my point? Not making it about me. I'm just letting you know how much I am worth to certain people and also to myself. People have worked hard and spent a lot of money to try to take me out and take from me, and destroy my companies. So someone values me that much, but it's coming like an opposite of hatred because they can never ascribe to that value, which I give myself. And that attracts abundance. That's the key. They stole my inheritance and everything else. You all know that. You all know the story. But it did not change my lifestyle. It did not change anything because the wealth always came from here. And it emanates outward. And that is what brings in the money. That's the whole concept of the secret. What they don't make clear is that you have to love yourself, because if you don't, it's not going to happen. It's important to understand the second house. And there's a lot more to say. There's a lot more to say. But it will be beyond the scope of 20 minutes. And I'm contracted to just 20 minutes. Otherwise, I'll be exhausted and I'll be able to get done the other stuff I have to do and do the readings. So now let's switch to Mercury in the second house. Mercury, you already know the 6 factions I spoke about with Mercury on the ascendant. Go back to that video and reference them, because you're going to need it to understand Mercury in the second house and how it operates. Here is where many astrologers get a little confused and it's a little difficult, because the second house has 2 indexes of cognition. You have the low IQ index and you have the high IQ index. There are some Taurians, and for this I have to reference, I told you my overlap. This is where I make reference to Mercury in Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign and it's quite slow, a plotter. Easy and steady wins the race. It's really the principle of Mercury in Taurus. With Mercury in the second house or Taurus, here they overlap. You could be a thinker like Albert Einstein that had the position. And Edgar Casey, the sleeping prophet, also had the position, and a strong Pisces in the second house. And so they Albert Einstein. And these men, they spend their whole lives reading, because Mercury rules reading and writing and documentation. Many researchers have Mercury in the second house, or Mercury in Taurus. And they are the ones that write these complex books and textbooks. Mercury is quite wonderful in Taurus. However, if we are going to say you write book A, and then the Mercury in the second house, or the Mercury in Taurus, says you write book 2. The one that was designed to write book A will not only just do A, but he'll surpass, he'll go to G or Y. And the person in B will still be in B. And it could be 10 years, 20 years. But once that book is done, it will revolutionize the planet in some way. Mercury in the second house, or in Taurus, can also give the impression that there's mental slowness here. That there's mental slowness. That the person may be slow or may have a certain degree of autism, especially when young. The Mercury in the second house person doesn't like to talk, doesn't like to speak. If a question is asked of him, he will not answer you right away. And when he does, it could be days or weeks. He's not going to snap and give her a quick answer. And this makes him look dumb, slow, and uneducated. This is it's too bad that happens. But it's not that the person with Mercury in the second house or in Taurus is dumb or slow or whatever. It's that they have to mull over, just like the cow mulling and grazing. They can't eat that grass quick like that. They're like the ram of Aries. The bull takes its time. It has a very slow digestive process. What I eat and I, shit after I eat it, in 1 day or 2 days time, the bull, it may take weeks to do that. Very slow. And the psychology and mentality is equally the same. If we're dealing with someone with Mercury in the second house and they came from a poor educational background or from poverty, they might have a limited outlook on life and on money, because it's the second house of money. The person believes, Mercury, that he don't deserve money, he don't deserve material prosperity, because he doesn't have it. There could be conditioning here, psychological conditioning that can go left or can go right. We have people born poor who rise out of poverty. And they do it by using the intelligence in a practical, methodical way that later on puts them in a position of better prosperity. That's kind of like an average that happens to all of us. But then you have those who have a high IQ index. They grew up middle class, or upper middle class. They had everything. They went to school. They went to the best schools. They did the right thing. Their societal psychological adjustment was quite balanced, and so was the home environment quite balanced. So these types of people with Mercury in the second house are going to be great achievers, impacting the world in a way that is still seen today happening with some of our greatest pop artists and musicians and actors and actresses. So Mercury in the second house is contingent upon the psychological index, whether it's high IQ or low IQ, and how you were raised and how that affected you, and then how you're going to use that to be a better person tomorrow, and also develop a great sense of love of self based on these experiences. Okay? Guys, let's see if we have here. Okay. That's something that is important. We also talk about value. And when value, breaking it down further, we're talking about compare and contrast. Right? So with Mercury in the second house of Taurus, there's also a need to compare and contrast. And this could be on material tangibles, but it can also be on your own self-emotional index based on how you see yourself, independent of parents, siblings, and other secondary family members. So again, we're going back to the basis margin. How much do you measure? How much do you give yourself? And how do you come to that conclusion without falling in a ditch and comparing yourself to others? This will be the wrong for you of Mercury in the second house. The self-love and self-esteem that's required has to be self-generated. Guys, thank you so much. Please donate. Please give to 1-690-8825 or CashApp. Fernando. FERNA5NDO, so we can keep these videos going. Sometimes I do a lot of research and it takes me time to come back. This is work. Guys, thank you. I love you and I hope this helps somebody. Cheers.